What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another very special episode of the Burnout Brighter podcast, where we're talking all about E3 stuff and games that we've seen and previews and all this other stuff. I'm Matt. I'll be host for this evening's events. I'm joined as always by Destiny
Hey, hey, hey.
and Darren.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking all about Dreamscaper coming from Afterburner Studios. We just finished talking to Ian, who's one of the team members there. He has design, and we saw a whole bunch of stuff from the game. It looks awesome. I'm so stoked for this game. If you're unaware of what Dreamscaper is, it is a 3D roguelike, very much in the same vein as something like Hades or Binding of Isaac, where you, in a dreaming world, you run around, get these different upgrades and stuff, and try and make it to the levels without dying. But they also added in a waking world where you'll do your upgrades, you'll be able to develop relationships with different people and grow your abilities permanently on the waking world. You go to sleep, end up in the roguelike. So it's really, really an interesting spin on the traditional roguelike genre. Darren, I'm going to start with you this time. We just saw a bunch of Dreamscaper. What are your initial thoughts after seeing the game?
So I was really intrigued by the trailer, but when I saw the game played live, I was much more impressed and much more interested. I think it looks a lot deeper. Like it looked pretty deep from the trailers, but it just seeing it actually in live action makes it look a lot better. Like this has definitely jumped to like one of the games that I'm most interested in coming up this year. So I think what like spoke to me the most was probably just like the kind of depth of the world. It's a very unique mixture of dreams invading reality and reality invading dreams. You're right at the well, I guess that's the point of the game. It's Dreamscaper. You're right at like the plane between the two. I just really, really like that vibe.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the game looks really cool. Destiny, what were your initial thoughts?
I liked it from the trailer, but you know what? I didn't really realize that the main character was female until we saw him playing the game through. And you guys know I'm all about having a female protagonist in video games. So, like, it really put me in the mind of some of the other games we've played before that deal with mental health and emotions. And I really like that aspect of it. I also love it that she has a sketchbook coming from an artist perspective. That was really cool. And just the world itself is absolutely gorgeous. Like the fact that it's like these three guys, and they've had other help that they've talked about, but like that they've conceptualized this world and have been able to put it together so well. It does not look like an indie game to me.
No,
Like, and I said that as well. It looks like a game that would be released by like one
uh,
of the like top video game
yeah.
developers. It's so well done.
Yeah, the art style is super, super beautiful. And that was one of kind of the things that we asked Ian about. And we found out that the art was influenced by a bunch of like, by a Russian painter who kind of goes in, who tries to paint in the style between like awake and sleep, this kind of like combination of the two. We learned a lot about Cassidy, the main character, who is moving to this new town where the game takes place. And she's kind of dealing with the trauma that she's experienced beforehand. And it's kind of like every one of the main bosses throughout the game stages is linked to one of her emotions, be it fear or something else. And the game kind of focuses her mental health in a way of dealing with the roguelike. And Darren, you actually asked a really interesting question about this marriage of roguelike and mental health. And I really liked Ian's answer. Can you tell me a little bit more about that kind of marriage of roguelike and mental health?
Well, yeah, because similar to what something like Celeste did, which is not a roguelike, but it's still, a challenging platformer. Roguelikes are well known for being very, very challenging games, and they can be somewhat frustrating. So to pair that with a mental health story, I was curious what led to that decision. And Ian gave a really good answer, talking about how, I mean, mental health itself is a challenging topic. It's something that you constantly have to deal with. So those stories kind of work completely together on a meta level, because gameplay wise, you're going through the same kind of challenge, grappling with the same things that the character has to go through. And when you have the waking world gameplay focusing on mindfulness, it's like an appropriate come down cope from like the arduous journey you were just on before in the dream world. It's a really, really cool idea.
Yeah, I also really like that Ian was talking about how like dealing with mental health, it's ever present. It doesn't just go away. So just like in these in in the dream world where you're facing these issues again and again and again because roguelike by design, as you die you restart.
Mhm,
It's kind of like just like mental health. It's this ever present thing. It's something that you have to try new builds, new
mhm.
abilities, new ways of coping to kind of go through that. Destiny, the art style for this game is probably one of the most striking, and along with the music, those two go hand in hand in a way that I think is really, really difficult to pull off. Can you tell me a little bit about what you thought about the art style and the music?
So I really like the fact that they try to merge these oil-like type paintings with these 3D elements. I also thought it was really important and kind of spoke to the idea that like none of these characters have faces. So you could put yourself in their shoes. Like you could be any one of them as you're playing through these things because all of us like in today's society are dealing with things. Um, the tones are very dark, but it's still very beautiful. It's not like muddy or shadowy, and it does really give like a nice kind of dream look. And I like the idea that they also used elements of watercolor. So when you open up her sketchbook or when like you saw the city, it kind of bleeds out with like these really beautiful blues and like red tones. I just thought it was like really, really well done. So kudos to the artist who worked on it. And I'd really like to see the oil paintings that inspired uh, the actual conceptualization of
Yeah,
the game art.
I
So
agree because we can talk about the fact that we will have members of Afterburner joining us on the podcast in the future to hopefully be able to talk about this in more
yes.
detail. But let's jump over into the. We talked a lot about how the waking world you kind of progress through things like meditation and drawing, and that's how you kind of have those persistent upgrades that you'll take into the dreaming world. Darren, as someone who likes action games quite a bit, like that's kind of your thing. What did you think about seeing
Mhm.
the combat in Dreamscaper, which is obviously much more along the lines of something like Hades or Binding of Isaac? What did you think of the combat?
Yeah, the combat looked really, really good. It looked really polished as well. They have a really good upgrade system so that like no matter what you're doing, it seems you're always going to have a melee attack, you're always going to have a ranged attack, you're always going to have like a shield. But as you're going through the game, as Ian said, similar to like Dead Cells, you'll be getting things to augment those attacks. So your ranged attack could turn into something like Matt, you were saying when you played the game, like go from just a regular I don't know, ranged attack to like laser eyes. And there's a dodge, there's like a block, like the combat has like everything you'd want from a good action game. And the dodge looked really, really punchy. There's watching him fight the first boss they showed us, Fear. Seeing the way it looked very similar to like Bayonetta or Near Automata when you dodge the attack, there's a certain amount of invincibility and it like slows down for just like a split second as you jump like over the attack, like really fluid motion, really cool looking gameplay, really excited. It looks like it felt really fun to play.
Yeah, so I have actually spent some time with the demo, and I can say that the combat does feel great. And I was surprised by how much variety you had between the weapons and between the different abilities. Like I went from just having the normal kind of weapon that you start with, then
Mhm,
I found like a very Final Fantasy inspired giant Buster Sword esque type weapon.
mhm.
I went from having the what's it called, the bow and arrow, to having like this shock static field that would do persistent damage. I got like these Superman esque eye beams that would destroy stuff. So like the level of creativity and the level of customizability that you'll have between runs seems to be quite big. And even Darren, like the dodge you were saying, that initial dodge is quite punchy, but then you get dodges where it's almost like there's like a shadow step, which is almost like a teleport. There's
Yeah.
another one that you can get that's almost like a parkour esque like flip through the air. So even in the movement, you get lots of variation throughout the way that the game kind of comes together. So I was really really impressed with the demo, and I'm excited to kind of spend some more time with it because it does feel great. One of the biggest things that I like too is just there's a simple fast travel mechanic. The puzzles look good, and if I'm telling you that the puzzles look okay, that probably means something because I wasn't standing there trying to put my head through the wall. I was like actually standing there for like a minute and being like, I got it, Eureka. I think like the way that the puzzles work, you get those moments so like naturally. I think it
Mhm.
works
And
really, really
he
well.
said he wanted players to get that feeling, right? Like
Yeah.
that eureka moment. And I just wanted to say really quickly, like you guys were talking about the weapons. I love the fact that he brought up that like Cassidy, the main character, is into comic books, and like a lot, you can tell that a lot of the things that they grew up and loved playing they put into this character. So of course, like you have the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII, you have like Superman's laser eyes. I'm like excited to see what other little like Easter eggs they actually have that they're paying ode to in other genres. But when you told me about the Buster Sword, I was immediately like, that's my shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII.
It's really cool, and like you said, Dee, they use the experience, like the thing that like Cassidy is into anime and comics and video games. So like these things are permeating in her dream. I think it's very intelligently put together.
Well, yeah.
So
Overall, I just wanted to say it sounds very thematically cohesive. The way, yeah, the combat works with the waking world and how the decisions you make. And Matt, you're probably very happy because it seemed like a very Persona like system from what I could see, where
Yeah.
the relationships and influences that you make with people determine your stats that you go back and use in the dream world. Like everything just seems to work like clockwork together. Very impressed.
yeah, for the relationships, like you'll make gifts that you'll give to people, and the more you kind of give them gifts and the more you interact with them, your relationship will go up with them. They'll be more honest with you. They'll help tell you their stories. It's all really, really well done. So Dreamscaper is coming August 12th. It's coming to Steam and Switch. The 1.0 will launch then. There's going to be a bunch more coverage for Dreamscaper coming from us. So get stoked. And we have a lot more other video
And
game
Switch.
coverage.
It's coming to Switch too as well.
Didn't I say Steam and Switch?
That.
Oh,
He did.
my internet's bad and I probably missed it.
It's coming to Switch. We're going to have lots and lots of content coming for you guys over the next couple of weeks. Post shows for all the major events, dev interviews, talking about other games that we've seen.
Wish list it.
Wish list. Thank you, Destiny. Tell me why.
Because it's really important to help support the devs. If they see that people are wanting this game, like it really helps like push them in the right direction. So please wishlist it. It only takes a second. And honestly, like, what else are you doing?
Yeah.
Other than listening to us.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely want to check out.
Dreamscaper is actually already in early access, so you can hop on and play that right now. Go check it out. Wishlist it if you haven't. Play that early access. The full game is coming very, very soon. Keep it locked, like, sub, share. We have lots more coming for you very, very soon. For Team Burnout, peace out.
Deuces.
Later.